Is that how they're assuming and presuming themselves as the state is the victim?
No, they're making a false and fraudulent claim.
Okay.
Because here's why. They are the fiduciary. They're the co-trustee, co-beneficiary, and only signatory officer of the trust as a subsidiary to the federal government, who is the true trustee. They're acting as a trustee and you're the beneficiary. So they're breaking their fiduciary duty to you, the beneficiary, by making that false claim. And it's a false arrest and imprisonment. And if you read the book, A Treatise on False Arrests and Imprisonments, you would clearly see that.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah, and there's I've read it a couple of times, and every time I read it, I get something new because it's absolute. Like,
I've been reading that book for 25 years.
Yeah. But I just meant from like cover to cover. I went through it, a couple times.
Me too. It's one of my go-to books.
Yeah, because it's just, how do you say, insanity, I would almost say, where these harm stackers, because that's what they're doing. They're stacking harm on top of harm on top of harm. They're like, well, the first thing we did is trespass upon you. And then we're going to coerce you. And then it's just harm, theft, kidnapping, all the way to where there's no fundamental, there is no possibility other than a complete lack of God, a complete lack of, whatever you want to believe it is, a complete lack of love of any other human being, that you would want to hurt them in such a way, because it's harm. Like it's unfathomable that another man
they don't harm
another man so much.
They don't harm the living. They don't harm the living. They're going after the dead, and you're consenting to be the dead. And that's how they look at it.
I get that's how they look at it, yes. But it's still absolutely satanic, twisted, and disgusting, because I know the technicalities of the living versus the dead. But I am
when you look at the right.
Yeah, and it hurts my soul when they do these things.
When you look at the emolument clause of the Constitution, then everything a police officer or any agency of government, the FBI, the ATF, the IRS, whatever, everything they do is an emolument violation of the Constitution. And it's because of how they get paid, how they use their position of power for illicit profit or gain. They don't disclose their private corporations. They don't give their EIN number or their Dun & Bradstreet number. They don't tell you that right up front in your initial notice to them. Hey, we're just like State Farm. We're a private for-profit corporation. If you want to do business with us, here's our menu, and this is what the charge is. They don't disclose anything, and that's all they are. They're not government. We the people are the government. They're not. We the people are sovereign. They're not. They're private for-profit corporations acting and pretending to be government under the color of law. And they're creating causes of action that creates a case, that creates a CUSA, that creates a bond where they hold your body, the living, as surety, and then they treat it as if it were dead, and they send it to the prison, which is the morgue. And then if they want it back to try you again, they have to exhume the body with a corpus warrant, telling the cemetery to dig you up and bring you back into the county for trial, to the trial court. When you know how that works, And you know how they get paid as a bank with the court clerk and its ISILN number and its brokerage and its bonds and how it's sold on Wall Street and where it's invested into municipal bonds and prison bond funds. And you know how that system works. You look at everything differently from that moment on. I look at these police officers and they're no more important to me than Taco Bell. The difference is they're Taco Bell with a gun, a bald head, who follows orders, and an attitude problem. And when you watch 40, 50 videos a day on TikTok of police brutality in this country, it's time to stand up and get off the couch and go change it. If you're not in the fight, get off the bench.
Absolutely.
Gosh, I get frustrated.
David,
I really do.
We all do, but at the same time, we've got a bunch of action takers here. We're all doing a lot of work.
Yes, we do. We
we're,
do.
You know, we're all fighting the same fight, and in some of those cases, you are preaching to the choir. But a lot of us sometimes still need to hear that, because
over and over and over again until you can spit it out your mouth, is the way I just did. Because when you're on the side of the road with a cop, or I'll tell you what, I was at a gas station yesterday, and a police officer came in that gas station to get gas. He started the pump, he put the handle in his tank, and he walked into the store. I waited for him. When he came back, I smiled at him. I said, turn around and hand me your cuffs so I can put them on you. He says, what do you mean? I says, every gas pump in this country has a big sign right here. Here it is. You can't pump fuel and leave the car. You're supposed to stand by the nozzle.